A huge afternoon to everyone out there, and thank you for joining me on the live broadcast by Born to Lead. A number of us have been faithful and committed to this broadcast, and it gives me or gladdens my heart to know that you are out there this afternoon and always wanting to learn to be a better leader, to learn to be a better person for your society and for the environment at large. So I'll thank you again for agreeing to be here this afternoon and for wanting to draw some lessons to help in improving your life and help in also improving my life because as I teach, as I coach, as I train, I learn a lot from the things that go on this platform. I've received comments that are quite encouraging, comments that have taught me to make certain adjustments, comments that have opened my eyes to other areas of this training that I wasn't completely aware of. So let me again appreciate everyone out there for taking time to come on live with me at a critical time like this. Today, I would want to be talking about transformational leaders. What does it mean to be transformational? Who is a transformational leader? We'll try to even look at the history of transformation or transformational leader, just depending on how you see it or what you understand by this concept of transformational leaders. Um, having said that, I would like to say again that if you are online live and listening to me, I would appreciate it if you write in your comments or send in your comments to help me understand where you need clarification, to help me understand um, how well this is going on, to help me also understand where I need to make improvements. I would very well appreciate this, and um, I tell you, it will not be ignored. Your effort will not be ignored. So, thank you again for wanting to be here today. And like I said, we will be talking about transformational leaders. I've talked about several categories or several kinds of leaders. I've talked about transactional leaders. We've talked about different styles, leadership styles, dictatorial leadership, the laissez-faire leadership style, the democratic leadership style, and so on and so forth. So today I'll be hinging on transformational leaders, and this is key. This is important because I've discovered that transformational leaders are persons who are exceptional. Okay, they are very great leaders, and because of their greatness, they tend to be um, exceptional. They tend to be very few in number. Okay, they tend to be very few in number. What you're seeing on the screen, I got from a friend just a few days ago, I think 2 days ago, and I promised her I'll put this into today's lesson because it summarizes what I have in mind to talk about. All right, it just gives me a summary of what I have in mind to talk about. Here it says, great leaders don't tell you what you want or don't tell you what they want you to do. They show you how it is done. All right? They show you how it is done. That's what great leaders do. Great leaders don't tell you what to do, they show you how it is done. And transformational leaders are leaders who are not so much interested in talking, but they are much more interested in taking steps to enable you understand, to enable you see, and to enable you learn from their life to be able to draw lessons and to be able to practice this lesson. So that's what I will be spending much time on this afternoon to talk about. So if you are agreeing with me, if we're on same page, let's make a bit of a progress. And I'll show this video clip, just a short video clip, and it will show you further a summary of what we mean and what we understand by transformational leaders. So please do well to enjoy this clip, and in a short while I would return and be a part and try to break it down, or try to explain what I mean when I talk about this clip that I'm about to just show. Okay.
Poor leaders make today worse for everyone by using coercive power. Transactional leaders make today better by rewarding good performance. In contrast, transformational leaders are focused on making tomorrow better. They do this in 4 ways. Firstly, vision. Transformational leaders create a noble vision to work towards that inspires others. Secondly, authenticity. Transformational leaders are authentic in their commitment to the mission, not just to personal gain. Their integrity inspires the team to take action. Thirdly, a growth mindset. Transformational leaders cultivate their team's professional and personal development. They invest time and energy, knowing their effort will eventually bear fruit. And they recognize growth in individuals' effort as well as their performance. And finally, creativity. Transformational leaders encourage team members to develop ideas, work with flair, and embrace originality. They allow measured risks, which helps to foster a culture of innovation. In short, teams with transformational leaders are constantly being transformed for the better. To review, transformational leaders work towards a noble vision, act with authenticity and honesty, adopt a growth mindset, and promote creativity and new ideas. Download this.
All right. So thank you. Let's just do a little sharing on the 2 minutes clip that we've just watched. Again, to say a few things, all right, from the 2 minutes clip that we just watched concerning transformational leaders. One thing is very clear, one thing is very obvious, okay, that transformational leaders are leaders whose interest is not about today, okay, it's not just about today, it's about today, tomorrow, and the long future. Okay? So their concern is not about the things that are happening just today, because they know that at some point they are bound to leave the scene, they are bound to leave the place of leadership, and they are bound to transit, okay, whether by death, by promotion, or by transfer. They are bound to leave whatever environment they take charge and control of. So transformational leaders do not concentrate on today, they concentrate on a better tomorrow. And I'm sure that every one of us is concerned about a better tomorrow as much as we're concerned about a good today. Okay? The difference between societies that have continued to progress and those who are either stagnant or have retrogressed is the fact that most of the societies with progressive movement have transformational leaders, leaders who think about tomorrow, leaders who think about a better tomorrow, not just about tomorrow, but about a better tomorrow. Leaders whose mindset is not fixed on where they are. Rather, it is fixed on making progress and making movement towards a better tomorrow. Now, interestingly, a lot of the African countries or societies or communities have leaders that are not transformational. Okay, this is not to rubbish them, this is not to rubbish leaders, but this is to paint certain facts. And I give you a simple example. Okay, you will recall that for a long time, those of us who are Africans have continued to dwell and have continued to dwell on the fact that we need to maintain our culture. We need to maintain our culture. That story has held us captive. That story has held us bound, as it were, as far as life is concerned. So every time you hear this talk about culture, 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 I ask myself, what do they actually mean when they say? What do they actually mean when they say let's remain with culture? Okay, I'll tell you a few things. Culturally, we have got a way of farming, and we have farmed in that manner for hundreds of years. Our population has outgrown that style of farming, yet we say let's maintain that cultural style of farming. Okay, this should explain why we have hunger in the land in so many African countries. Culturally, we have learned to dig up things, whether mineral resources or farm produces, and sell them raw. Over time, the pace of development has outpaced those form of lifestyle. Yet we're saying let's maintain culture. There is a way that we used to get married. Okay, we have stuck to that way of getting married. Before, it was a couple getting married within a single cultural system. Right now, we have surpassed that. We moved from one cultural system to the other, and we still want to maintain the way that we used to get married. I will give you a typical example. I'm in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, called Abuja, and here the Bagis are the dominant ethnic group. Now, culturally, by the Bagis culture, you do the wedding in the bride's home, and then you take the reception to the groom's home. That's what happens. Okay? Now, incidentally, if a baggy girl marries someone who is not baggy, what should transpire? Now, a lot of times, what parents try to do, or what people try to do, or what organizers try to do, is to stick to that old way of doing things, which is you take the wedding event to the lady's place, then you transfer the reception to the groom's place. Now, assuming they are living in two different states or two different towns, again, we see people struggle to do that. And you see, by that, expenses has increased, the risks on the road has increased, the the danger of wasting a whole day has transpired, even just because of getting married, or just because of the wedding event, because that's not actually the marriage. Okay, that's not actually the marriage, it's just the wedding event. And what we see is people trying to stick to those type of lifestyle and to maintain what they have always called culture. Now, again, time has proved that that is not sustainable. But then, because we do not have transformational leaders, we do not think of trying to do away with such cultural thoughts. Well, there used to be culture that were relevant. But these days, those things have become irrelevant because of the time and season at which we're living. Okay? Transformational leaders look at the reality and carve out a culture based on the reality on ground. They carve out cultures based on the realities on ground. And the culture for them, as far as transformational leaders are concerned, the culture for them is how to make improvements over what they meet. They are not satisfied with the status quo. Nothing ever seems to be satisfactory for the transformational leader. He just comes, enjoy what he sees, but makes a deliberate plan and an effort to improve, to increase, to make better the environment and society that he or she meets. Okay, so that's one thing, one advantage of having transformational leaders. Now, from the video clip that we just watched, all right, it shows that transformational leaders have 4 or 5 ways in which they operate. Number one is that they are visionary. And of course, my definition of vision is that vision is a picture or a mental picture of a better tomorrow, of a better future. Now, those who are visionary, those who look ahead, those who make calculations on concerning better and progressive tomorrow are those who can be called transformational leaders. Okay? Leaders who are very progressively inclined in whatsoever they do. Okay? So, transformational leaders are leaders who are visionary, who look beyond today, who look at tomorrow and see what can be done. It took transformational leaders to build up Dubai. Dubai is a desert land filled up with sand without any hope of growth. But I've had the privilege of traveling to Dubai a couple of times, and every time I go, I get amazed at the things that I see. Why? A desert land where grass never dries up. Again, because the leaders are transformational, they are visionary. In fact, I'm told that the story of Dubai was based on the fact that at one point the king recognized that oil, which was the mainstay, will someday fade away or someday dry up. And so they began to think, if oil dries up at the moment, what should we be doing to improve ourselves? Because if oil dries up, then it means we are dead. We can no longer get income the way that we used to get. And of course, a call was made for ideas, and the best idea was to transform Dubai into a business tourist destination. And today, friends, every time that you go to Dubai, you see amazing structures. Structures such as snow. Okay? Dubai was never meant to have snow, but you go to certain places and you are as cold as if you were in Europe or the United States of America. Okay? This concept came up because of transformational leaders. You go to the water park where every game, every entertainment there is based on water, and that is a desert land where water is hardly gotten. You go to Israel, a desert land, completely desert, and yet Israel farms from January to December, December to the next January, and so on and so on and so forth, rather, continually. Why? Because their leaders are very visionary. Transformational leaders are visionary leaders, leaders who are not satisfied with the status quo, leaders who look beyond today and are thinking of a better tomorrow. Those are transformational leaders. Okay? Again, transformational leaders are authentic, very authentic. They are true to the core. You cannot question their integrity. They are honest. They are sincere in whatever they pursue. Because they are sincere and honest, followers trust them by the day. And so, when they say something is black, everyone believes that it is black because the leader has spoken. When they say this is right, everybody tends to see that thing as being right because the leader who loves being right has spoken. That's what transformational leadership does. It ensures that the followers trust the leader. Okay? They trust the leader. Why? Because transformational leaders are authentic. They are very honest. When it comes to integrity, they cannot be questioned. Again, transformational leaders have a growth mindset. Excuse me. Transformational leaders have a growth mindset. Though the society is grown, they continually seek for better ways to improve the society. Though they meet or make some progress, they are never satisfied with the kind of progress that they have. They continually seek to improve and to make progress on a constant and daily basis. That's what transformational leaders do. And transformational leaders are very creative. In fact, they are so creative that they know that they are limited as humans, and then they allow followers come up with creative ideas and concepts on how to improve their environment. I just mentioned earlier on the fact that the concept of how Dubai was developed didn't come from the leaders. It came from people amongst the followers who had a concept, who dreamt of a concept and put that concept to paper and brought that concept to the leaders, and the leaders adopted that concept and put it to practice. Okay? So transformational leaders allow creativity. They are creative, they enjoy creativity, they also allow creativity amongst leaders. This for me is eye-opening, it is challenging, and it is very, very instructive. Okay? And the challenge this afternoon is for every one of us who listens, for every one of us who is following this broadcast, to know that you and I have the ability to become transformational leaders. You and I have the wherewithal to become transformational leaders. Regardless of whether you occupy a leadership position or not, because, like I teach on this platform, you are a leader, and because you have influence over people, then you can actually strive to become a transformational leader. For me, this is quite interesting. Okay? It is also quite challenging, and I challenge everyone out there to take steps to become a transformational leader. What are some other things that we can learn? Let's take a look at the history of what it means or where this concept came from. All right? Again, you can see that the idea of transformational leaders arose when, in 1978, James McGregor, okay? James McGregor Burns, a political scientist and a historian, introduced this concept of transformational leadership. What he did was he conducted a research actually on men like Roosevelt Franklin, men like Mahatma Gandhi, and some other persons. Okay, in fact, including Martin Luther King Jr. And when he did that research and discovered that certain leaders were exceptional, what he did was to name them transformational leaders. So Burns described transformational leadership as occurring when two or more persons engage with each others in such a way that the leader and the followers raise another to high levels of motivation and morality. So for James Bonds, transformational leaders challenge followers while followers challenge the leaders. That's what James Bonds or James McGregor Bonds sees and understands after he had conducted several researches to be able to identify, to distinguish or to state or to find out why certain leaders were different from other forms of leaders. You and I are aware that Mahatma Gandhi defeated the British Empire with their reign over India without lifting up a single arm. In fact, it was that concept that motivated Martin Luther King Jr. to march against white supremacist rule in southern United States of America. It was also that motivated Nelson Mandela to rise up against apartheid in South Africa. Again, you will realize that even though Mahatma Gandhi had since left the scene, his mindset, his mentality, his motivation pushed others, motivated future leaders to become like him and to take up the challenge to be like him or to do like him. So, transformational leaders, and I agree with my friend Benjamin Wesley, who has just stated, transformational leaders challenge their followers and allow followers to also do what? Challenge them. Okay? Thank you for capturing that so apt, Ben Wesley, and thank you for following me at this time. Okay? So, this is who and what transformational leaders do. They look at the future. They are not satisfied with the status quo. They are very creative and they allow followers to also exhibit their creativity. They have the ability to motivate and mobilize people to do things based on their vision. All right. So these are some of the things that we see as coming from transformational leaders, and we thank James McGregor for coming up with that concept of transformational leaders. But of course, long before James McGregor came up with that concept, a lot of leaders had exhibited that form of leadership. And for me, honestly, the greatest of such transformational leaders is the person called Jesus. Okay? And not from a religious perspective. Not from a religious perspective, but from a historical perspective. If you look at what he did, okay, you'd understand what it means to be a transformational leader. He constantly thought of the future. He knew that he would not be on earth for long. And within his short stay of 33 years, he had transformed a number of people who have continued to transform the world. Perhaps I'll take time next week to try to explore his life and to teach based on that, and hopefully get a number of people to understand. When we talk about the man called Jesus, not from a religious perspective, but from a historical perspective, we will understand that he's the greatest leader that has ever lived. And I'll challenge you to join me next week as I try to take a cue from his life to be able to teach what it means to be a transformational leader. All right? So this is a bit of the history of how we came about that term called transformational leadership. Now, transformational leadership is a style of leadership that motivates followers to take ownership for their own roles, their own responsibilities, and to perform beyond expectations. So, a transformational leader is not just interested in being the leader and leading people. Actually, transformational leaders are interested in transforming followers into leaders. They are interested in meeting everyday ordinary people and transforming them into becoming leaders like they are. So they teach people how to think rather than just do what they are told. That's the interesting thing. Transformational leaders teach people how to think, not just to follow. All right? Not just to keep their focus on what they are being taught. They allow people to think. And you would agree with me that there are very few leaders who allow followers to think. There are very few leaders who are interested in making followers leaders. Very, very few. Also, transformational leaders are very inspirational and motivational. These are leaders who, when they watch what you do, when they observe you teach, when they lead you, they observe your abilities, they observe your skills, and they place you at the right positions where you should be exhibiting your skills and your talents. They allow you and motivate you to be able to rise up beyond the ordinary, to never be satisfied with the place where you have found yourself, to improve on yourself without anyone pushing you to seek improvement. And of course, transformational leaders excel at resolving conflict. You'd agree with me that where you have 2 or 3 people consistently gathering to do things, you will constantly have conflict. Transformational leaders do not allow this conflict to feather for long. They do not allow this conflict to overwhelm the society or environment where they teach. They ensure, all right, they ensure that they resolve conflict as quickly as possible. They ensure that conflict does not overwhelm the tasks and responsibilities that they do have. They ensure that this conflict or conflict that arises does not kill the motivation or inspiration of others who are planning to work. All right, that's one thing about transformational leaders. Again, just like Wesley Benjamin does, if you hear anything you want to re-emphasize, please just feel free to type in your comments. I would ensure that it's shown on the screen. I would ensure that your quotes get on the screen. Thank you, Benjamin Wesley, again for re-emphasizing the fact that transformational leaders allow and encourage others to think and to act and to create. Okay, so this is who a transformational leader is. Okay, he allows followers to become leaders by allowing and encouraging them to think for themselves, to act, and to create. Okay? Again, the encouragement is that every one of us ought to be transformational leaders. Every one of us should seek to be transformational leaders. What are the characteristics of transformational leaders? I'll speak on some of these characteristics today, and then we will be done. The first is the fact that the transformational leader is a model of integrity and fairness. He's a model of integrity and fairness. What is integrity? Integrity is being wholesome. Integrity is being who you say that you are, not what people say about you, but who you say that you are, and not just what you say by words, what you say by action. Okay? What you say by action. I've read a quote somewhere where someone quoted that your actions are so loud I cannot hear what you are saying. I repeat, your actions are so loud I cannot hear what you are saying. A number of us tend to dwell our lives on what people think about us. Transformational leaders do not worry about what people think so much about them. They worry about being people of integrity, about people of fairness. So in an organization, in a family, if you claim to be a transformational leader, you must exhibit a high level of integrity and fairness such that you become a model for others to eagerly want to copy. Transformational leaders set clear goals. We've mentioned earlier on that transformational leaders are leaders of vision. Okay? Now, visions without goals will simply amount to dreaming, daydreaming. So, these leaders do not only have vision, they set goals as to how to achieve those visions. They set goals as to how to be able to attain the vision. They set goals as to how to be able to reach milestones as they move from one step to the other, from one level to the other. The reason why organizations or societies where transformational leaders lead constantly improve is that they set stones for them to be able to attain and to achieve, and they make progress in ensuring that they meet these set down goals. People who do budgets and yet do not follow up on ensuring the implementation of those budgets cannot be described as transformational leaders. At best, they could be dreamers. Again, dreaming is allowed, dreaming is good. But for your dream to be achievable, you've got to set out goals and you've got to pursue these goals to a logical conclusion. So transformational leaders are goal setters. So beyond the fact that they are models in terms of integrity and fairness, they also set goals. The third is the fact that they have high expectations. They never seem to be satisfied with any level of achievement. They aim for near perfection, even though they know that becoming perfect is a near impossibility as far as humans are concerned. Yet they set high goals and aim for perfection. A coach once said that even though perfection is a near impossibility for humans to achieve, let us pursue perfection, and by so doing, we will become excellent. By so doing, they become excellent. So, transformational leaders set high goals, okay? They expect high performance. They are not bullies. They do not push you to the wall. They are they show empathy rather. So they are empathetic with you. They understand with you. However, they pursue high level performance. They insist on not just dreaming, not just setting goals, but they insist on pursuing those goals to the end. So transformational leaders ensure high performance, high level performance. Again, like we've mentioned earlier on, they encourage others. They are high motivators. A transformational leader does not come and see you strong and leave you struggling. No, they encourage you. Transformational leaders are leaders who believe that nothing is impossible. All right? They believe that nothing is impossible. And for that reason, they motivate you, they encourage you, they inspire you to pursue whatever dream that you have, whatever goal that you've set for yourself. They know that every human needs to be encouraged. I've shared my story. It took me time to be able to motivate myself to do the things that I'm doing right now. Growing up, I still have him. I have a dad who never seemed to be satisfied with whatever level of work that you have done. The only problem was that he never encouraged you, okay, if you didn't have a high performance, or if he had expected much from you and you were unable to attain that much. The difference between that and a transformational leader is the fact that even if you are unable to meet the expectation, a transformational leader will encourage you, will motivate you, will inspire you to do more. I just talked about the man called Jesus, who worked with 12 men, and nearly every time these 12 men continued to disappoint him. But you know what? He never for once discarded their effort. He constantly encouraged them to improve. He constantly encouraged them to grow. He constantly encouraged them to take up tasks and responsibilities that were usually higher than themselves. And guess what? At some point, they were able to meet that high expectation that he had over them. So transformational leaders are very motivational. They are highly inspirational. They will push you, okay? Not just by the fact of making noise, but by the fact of kind, loving, encouraging words. Transformational leaders, like I said earlier on, are very exceptional. Very few. You can count in men like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., men like George Washington, Roosevelt Franklin, Winston Churchill. These were people who were highly motivational. They encouraged even the smallest of people to do things that were greater than themselves. Transformational leaders provide support and recognition. They provide support and recognition. Again, transformational leaders recognize the weakness of humans. They recognize and admit that every human is weak, that every human is fallible. They recognize that, including themselves, there are days that they feel less motivated. But you know what? Even at days that they feel less motivated, they provide support, they provide recognition for people. They recognize every small effort that you have put in to improve your environment. They do not discourage you, When you come up with an idea, they tell you how possible it is and encourage you to follow up to be able to attain whatever you have set out to do. Where you need certain form of financial support, even if they are lacking, they go out of their way to try to source out for funds and to make available these funds for you. When there is a knowledge that you seek and you cannot get, they go out of their way to be able to conduct certain researches, to be able to provide answers for you. Those are transformational leaders. Just like the word transformation says, they transform everyone and everything that they come across. And of course, they stir up people's emotions. When you meet a transformational leader and spend some time with a transformational leader, you go away thinking that nothing is impossible for you to ever do. When you meet a transformational leader, you go away knowing that you can love anybody, even the, in quote, worst of people, because of how they have shown you love. Transformational leaders stir up people's emotions. They are able to draw out from within you, all right, strength and energy that you've stored up. They are able to motivate you to pull it out from you so that you can begin to knock down walls where you need to knock down walls. Again, they get people to look beyond self-interest. This is one thing that kills society. People tend to look out for their own selfish interest. This kind of leaders, called transformational leaders, they move away from self-interest and look at the interest of a larger society. Again, Nigeria being a typical example. In fact, today in a cab, I was discussing with the cab driver that took me from home to my place of work. And he came up with several reasons why we have been failing to improve at the pace that everyone expects that we should improve. And I rounded up by, well, I chipped in and rounded up by telling him that the major problem that we have in this country is that everyone thinks of himself first and does not think of people around and does not think of the society at large. That's what everyone does. Again, there are few people who are out of this category who look at the interest of everybody. And in my discussion with the cab driver, I told him the war is not even between individuals, it is between regions, and regions based on ethnicity. At least so we think. And you see, interestingly, as we went on with the discussion, I let him understand that people simply use their religion and ethnicity to get into positions just so they can perpetrate their own selfish interest. That's what leaders do. I do not call them leaders in all sincerity. I struggle to call them leaders. All right? Because every leader ought to be selfless. Every leader ought to think of the interest of other people around him or her. Every leader ought to be looking at the interest of the larger society. The reason why Singapore is the way that it is that even though they were led by a dictator, all right, called Lee Kuan Yew, over several years, yet that dictator did not put his own interest as being greater and larger than the society in which he lived. As far as he was concerned, Singapore was better off than himself, and he had a responsibility to improve Singapore for the interest of everybody. Now, interestingly, Nigeria is better blessed, in quote, so to speak, in terms of mineral resources than Singapore. Yet Singapore is highly improved and highly developed when you compare it to a country such as Nigeria. Again, the reason being that selfish interest has overtaken our mindset. So transformational leaders do not pursue selfish interest. Transformational leaders think about people's interest beyond themselves. Beyond themselves. If you want to be a transformational leader, you must be a model of integrity and fairness. You must set clear goals. Not just set these clear goals, but pursue them to completion. You must also have high expectations and ensure that you pursue these high expectations. You must also encourage others. And as you encourage others, you must provide support and recognition of their own efforts. Beyond that, you must stir up the people's emotions. Then you must get people to look beyond self-interest. And you do that by first looking beyond self-interest. If you are an employer, let me ask, what were the criteria for employing staff in your organization? For some of us, our religion, not the competence, was our motivation. For some of us, our ethnicity, not people's ability to perform, was our reason for employing a particular staff. And just like Benjamin Wesley spells out, a selfless dictator is better than a selfish democrat. Of course, this is debatable, but I tend to agree that if you are selfless, whether as a dictator or as a democrat, you are better off than anyone who is selfish. You are better off than anyone who is selfish. And finally, transformational leaders inspire people. At the heart of leadership is people. I've always postulated that a leader leads not people, but leads for the sake of people. And transformational leaders inspire people. They motivate people to attain heights that they would never have attained if these leaders didn't come into their lives. I encourage you today to inspire as many as you can, to inspire as many people as you can, wherever you can, and however you can. Because transformational leaders are highly inspirational. My encouragement for you this hour is that you must learn to be a transformational leader. And again, every one of us has the ability, every one of us has the capability to become a transformational leader. This is my challenge to you. Next week, we'll look at a model transformational leader. I'll try to look at, model transformational. There are several leaders that have shown transformation in how they have led people. I'll try to look at them and perhaps try to encourage us to take after their lifestyle and to be able to become better leaders wherever we find ourselves. I would like to thank you at this hour for staying with me within the last 1 hour or thereabout, and for listening to me and for agreeing with the number of things that I have tended to talk about. This has been a live broadcast of Born to Lead, and just like we've pointed out earlier on, the contacts are on the scroll bar. Please feel free to make your touch or contact with us. If you would want to have your organization trained, if you want to have your family trained on how to be better leaders, if you would want your school, just any institution to receive better training, we have been invited to churches, we have been invited to mosques to try to teach this concept of leadership, to be able to enhance and enable all those who are humans who also desire to be better leaders. So please feel free to make contacts and join us as often as you can. Let me say this, from January of next year, okay? No, actually, February of next year. From February of next year, we're starting the Born to Lead Academy, okay? Where we'll do online teachings, 1 week teachings on leadership, where also we would sit in a classroom environment for as many who would have the opportunity to be in towns where we would be taking this, to sit down and go through leadership trainings to be better persons as the days go by. Our dream and our motivation is to leave every leader a better person. Okay? First, to make every person recognize and realize the fact that he or she has been born to lead, and also to enhance and to make every person a better leader, better than what you were before we met you. Thank you for your time. Thank you particularly to Benjamin Wesley for all the time spent and all the quotes that you continue to pour out by way of comment. Thank you out there for everyone who has been with us, and do have a blessed week ahead of you. Stay blessed. This will mark the end of today's broadcast. Do have a good week ahead of you. Thank you.